Shaw Kids Garden.
Okay, so hello there. Trust you're doing well. Today I found myself in a very depressed state, and usually I'm the type of guy, given the kind of content I put out, if you go or you find your way around this channel, you would see that there have been different types of contents that have been experimented over the years, So for a period I've been active and inactive, and sometimes I have a moment of burst, in the sense that I want to really, like, there's a period where I get so motivated. So I'm not sure if this is the experience everyone has. Like, there are moments where you are motivated and you really put in the work, and this journey can be very frustrating. So in case I haven't stated why I'm here to talk about the journey or my frustrations as a content creator. I would say a new content creator, and trust me, this job is not for the weak. And sometimes you have certain constraints with life, and you're trying to work out an exit plan while you are trying to do your work. I mean, the work you have at this very moment, you're still trying to balance that and find some free time. And obviously you need some free time to be able to create that life you want, so you're not able to work as much as you would if you solely depend on that. And it's something any wise or forward thinking person would understand and say, okay, because in today's world there is so much uncertainties, and you basically want to give yourself a better chance at surviving. And so content creation has really opened a host of opportunities. I think in this time there are a series of things that have created a host of opportunities, and content creation, alongside other things, even though I do not necessarily have the resource or the time to really divide myself to get the most needed concentration to achieve within those, given the fact that I'm started off somewhere else and I'm really investing that energy into those things. So I do here and there little money can do where you don't have to be active, okay, and basically task people, pay and tax people to do certain things for you. But this content creation is a domain that I know that will give me the needed liberty and flexibility I desire. So this is really me pouring out my heart in this. I've seen a lot of content or a lot of comments where people say, if you're a new content creator, gather here. I love the optimism, but I'm here to speak about the negative sides, and really just pour my heart to it, because I'm really just saying things as they come to my heart. The journey is quite tough, and you try one content type and you move on to the next, and when you look at RPMs and CPMs, you look at what kind of content really would give you the desired level of earnings. You might want to take that content, but really you find that it's not really a thing you're so passionate about. And if I'm not mistaken, business and technology are one of those areas that, I like technology, but not so much. I have some personal reservations when it comes to technology, and depending on the kind of technology and what it's used for, and the possible sinister applications of those technologies. So I'm a bit slow on that. I am not, I think, given that mindset, I'm not so charged in that direction. So I do have a passion for teaching. I do have a passion for a specific line of things, and I believe educated is one of those things that I would say, very passionate about. So I've chosen this lane. I mean, it's not the best paying, but I had to really sit down and think to myself, what do you really want to do? Do you just want to get on there and just post anything? You have to really sit down and ask yourself. Before I started this journey, I started this journey in different phases. I had several different channels, and I was going by emotion at the time, and also what was gaining the traction at some point. But I still had some reservations on that because I'll give you an example. Now, in today's world, there's obviously a divide between man and woman, right? And as a man, I mean, when you look at the perspective of the sufferings of your fellow men, you tend to want to, war against the opposite gender. But in that, some level of principles and morality was also refraining me from doing that, because I didn't want to go all out and make that my content type. That would only feed hate. And despite what I see that people experience speaking about the male gender, and not to say that that doesn't happen on the female side as well. So, and that is part of the thing that I needed to be fair about, because we can't look at the way things are turning out, especially looking at prophecy, which is one of the things we talk about on this channel, or I talk about on this channel precisely. When we look at that, we see that this thing's about to happen. It did not specify which gender would do what, or which gender would. I mean, there is actually a prophecy when you go into scripture that talks about how when it speaks about women ruling over men. So obviously, I think that is what we're currently experiencing. And if we are to be fair, I like to say that the authority was given to man to rule in the first place, and he misused that authority, and it's only normal for the devil to come in to try to reorder that divine structure established by the Most High. So we also hold some accountability, to be fair, and it took me a while to come to that maturity, but I would like to own up to that. So I dabbled in that content, but I wasn't as extreme. I was very mindful, because I subconsciously, or in my spirit, I didn't really want to go that line. So many people were towing that line, and I had to ask myself, the many alphas in the game that are saying they're alphas, right? You're an alpha, quite all right, but at the same time, you are sleeping with these women you speak against, and as an alpha, shouldn't you be a big brother? So am I trying to vindicate the women? No. There's some outrageous, ridiculous, and painful things that I have witnessed, and which also, if you're not careful and spiritually strong as a man, you might hate women. And I was on that part, but I had to retract myself. I had to subtly pull myself away from that content. So. And that wasn't enough, because I had some, I would say, some kind of subtle addiction to the content, or interest in the content. It also was a learning, because I believe the times we're in, it's on both genders. There's a lot of dishonesty, betrayal on both sides. You also have to be aware, of the gimmicks of the opposite gender, so that aspect retained me. But for me to properly heal, I think it took the Most High sending someone to me, and that's helped me heal, so I was able to learn from that person. And so I dismissed that content altogether. I wasn't about to go all out hate, because since I'm really advocating for the peace, and why am I advocating for peace in the sense of stopping the division? even though but every human has to choose a side based on the context of division, based on the subject also of division or the cause of division. But when it comes to man and women, I think we should be able to find a common ground given the gals and the deceit of the enemy and the structures and the system that has really actively I would say, what's the term, systematically, yeah, that's the word, continue to fill this divide. So we're divided on so many levels right now, and it's something I do not want to feel. I know I have my times where I see certain things and it really can stir up that hatred, but to be the bigger man, you have to learn to rule it. So even when I speak on these things, I tend to be careful about just generalizing. I try to create a subsect and use the term modern women if I have to speak against that, but I also have to take accountability to the fact, and I'm not trying to appeal to anybody at all, that men are also in the wrong. We have gone off the path of God, and so we are both erring in our own ways, okay? But it seems, from maybe this might be subjectivity, but going by scripture also, it seems that the enemy is using the most I would say the most beloved person to a man to war against him and the family structure as a whole. So I'll leave it at that. I mean, that's open for debate, but I'm not here to debate. I go by what is in scripture and I submit myself to it, and then I can debate other things that do not necessarily border around scripture. Okay. So I left that. Okay. And I started making animations. And yeah, telling stories, making animations, and also stories that were centered around scripture. And before AI came out, I was able to use snippets, of, I would say, extracts of, stock images, stock videos, right, to piece that together and start to do that. So I added some effects, here and there. And the reality hits, because I had limited time. What I was doing at the moment was very tough to keep that up and keep that up to the standard I wanted it to be. Because the editing took some time and I was using a crazy slow PC. Oh my days, man, that PC, not in the PC. Oh my days, that PC frustrated frustrated my life in a sense, because it did well for a good a regular PC. It wasn't regular. It was I think 8 giga in terms of the RAM, and also it was what else? It was 512 gigabytes special capacity. So it was a good PC, it was good enough PC, but for some reason it couldn't handle the editing task, especially when you have special effects and you have to embed that within certain scenes. And so that's the PC literally smoked. Oh my days, man, it literally smoked. And I'm like, wow. And that was another setback for me, because once that happened, that when you're really gunning and you're really pushing, even though at some point prior to it smoking I had to wait days, it was becoming more frustrating than it should be. I decided to so that got damaged, and I was at some point without PC, so I had to sacrifice a chunk to really get a good PC. I saved for that, and when I say I saved, I would never in my life imagine buying a PC that expensive. That expensive. And I'm not trying to prove anything. I just realized that it was either I settle for something, save some more money, but in reality, if I'm going to take this path, and then I need to make the sacrifices, and the main sacrifice is getting a PC, what they call it, with a graphics card that could do the job. And I think the graphics card I got was the Nvidia, I think was it a RTX 490, and that is still very competitive in this time. So that was a very high graphic card, and you can imagine even the graphic cards, the card alone is costing within the thousands of dollars. And I'm not trying to prove anything, honestly. That's not my point, but that is where that's how expensive the PC was. I mean, that's just one component of the PC, so you can imagine the rest. I'm not trying to prove anything. I like to stay humble, and it's part of the reasons why I want to stay behind this mask. I don't want to feed any pride or anything. You know, this is just me, simple me, just really telling you about the innocent experiences and the frustrations I have encountered. So even when I got the PC, the questions still remain. Despite that PC, other PC was slow when it comes to exporting the files and really rendering the video. There was still some time spent besides the wait time, which was running into days to render a video before it smoked. There were also times where also the times that I had to wait for the video to be exported. Before its exportation, like the editing phase, that took days. If you really want to make a good edit, and trust me, I won't say I made it though a mind-blowing edit. I really wanted to push out those videos quickly, so I didn't really want to spend so much time, especially starting off. And I was like, okay, we're gonna edit this, put the graphics and all that. That took me days. So I had a new laptop, and I was really considering, you want to start this journey, but the resources and the time you have in your hands, can you really push out videos as frequent as you want them to, understanding that this algorithm can be brutal in the sense that if you stop for some reason, it just finds a way of forgetting you exist. So I had to be real. So I had to really think about something I was passionate about. I read into the RPMs, the CPMs, as I told you, and the different categories and categorization of content and which one pays more. Fortunately or fortunately, I stuck a reality, and the reality is, sincerely, I don't just intend to be successful in this journey, but I am truly and sincerely passionate in the things of God. And I'm not perfect, you know. I try my best to do and be righteous. I also understand the do's and don'ts of the internet, and that's why my identity also is concealed. I want to be able to, so I have two reasons why I conceal. One is because I don't want to feed pride. That's the major one. And maybe eventually I might be found out. Obviously, people have a way of finding people, or maybe those who know me closely might just one day open their mouths. But there are other aspects, and the other aspect of, you know, so I've spoken about feeding pride, and yeah, I've lost my train of thoughts there. So yeah, so I really had a vested interest in talking, teaching the things of God, and teaching life-related experiences and wisdom. And this wisdom does not come from me, and I must put that out there. So I give all glory and honor to the Most High God. I know some of you might not like that, but that's who I am. And if you're going to really spend time in this content, then you have to accept that. I'm not trying to accredit myself or give myself anything, but that's basically who I am. And that was what I resolved to doing, sincerely. I resolved to doing that, and I know that I could put out content. So the next reality I had to ask myself was, okay, now long form content is good, right? You have them, if people are engaged with your content, then you can basically have more duration if they're really invested in it, and that gives room for more ad placement versus reels. Okay, then there was Reels, okay, and the benefits it came with the opportunity of being discovered. And just recently I was asking myself, could this be the day? Recently, for some random reason, one of the Reels I posted, because I'm in the hundreds of views, right, when it comes to Reels, right, one of them just racked up 28,000 thereabout, and I was like, wow, okay, could this be the day? Well, for some reason it stopped, and maybe they didn't gather enough traction as it should be. But I'm hoping for that event and to be the event that actually projects me. So what I'm trying to say in essence, and I was very mindful. I had to put so much thought before putting out this content. I was very mindful, I would say very mindful of putting this content out, in the sense that I do not want it to seem like I'm just chasing money. Yes, as a human being, as a man, I seek success, and I've been given what I believe is a gift and a moral duty and obligation imposed on me by the Most High God to teach. And I'm not trying to monetize, so I'm not selling that wisdom directly. But since this platform has created an avenue where I can use my talents, like the parable of the talents, to put that on, and then there's a system already in place that would help me to work that talent to where it brings in appreciation in the point of the message being given. That's why I'm not just going with random I would say, what's the term to say, viral audios and just putting those sounds behind, and it's so repetitive, and sometimes it gets so annoying that you hear those sounds. It's actually a sound that I'm sick of. I'm sick of hearing that sound, and it really literally gives me a headache. Initially it was fun, but later it's too repetitive. And I find that people are so empty these days, and are so selfish that this might be my opinion. They literally stick their heads there with no commentary and just look at the screen and want to quickly believe that they will be able to gain from what someone else has invested time and effort in. And I don't know, to me personally, that upsets me. It upsets me. It's not like I don't want them to get ahead, but if you're going to be there, put some value to it. Unless you have commentary, I would say commentary videos and all that. And I said to myself that I would never do a commentary video, but it so happens, and that's why you must be careful when you speak against certain things, that there was a particular issue when it comes to prophecy, when it talks about children being disrespectful to their parents. I wanted to talk about that, and I actually did 2 commentary videos, part 1 and part 2, because part 1 seemed very promising because I got more views than expected, and there was actually a lady who commented, and she was so passionate about the topic, and that encouraged me to do a part 2. Okay, and I left it at that. And I was caught in between principle and what I have said concerning that subject. So I would say I'm not speaking against people making commentary, but the one that icks me the most is when people just station themselves there, either with image, or it's like this vanity of wanting to be seen, wanting to be known, when you necessarily do not put out or invest in any value. And as a content creator, I can say that that is also a kind of frustration, annoyance. So I see. But maybe from the content creator's point of view, it makes for greater visibility in terms of the person creating the content. Makes for there's a reputation, awareness, but I know people do this to be seen, and they really drop no value. So I'll leave that. So basically, that was my journey, and I started, and now I'm at the point, and I know that there's some weeks that I put in dedication, and this weeks that could go and run into months. Like you have 1 month or 2 months of steady dedication. You're pushing out videos every day, and you just wonder, like, when? And to top it off, when you go into the earn page, right, you find that there is like, you have a 365-day window, right, for you to meet the last requirement, which is, I think, 4,000 hours if you want to become a partner, then 3,000 hours to unlock some earning I say capacities or avenues like super chats and the rest. Okay, apparently that window now has, I was close to it, maybe closer to it. Maybe not close to it, but I was close to it, because there are moments where I slacked, and since the channel was open, I had 6 months of, just really that initial excitement. No, not 6 months, maybe 3 months of thinking, then resurfacing with the content, and then deciding to change another content, to see what works and what doesn't work. And also, I was speaking in a different language, which is Pidgin, which is I would say a language spoken that's not obviously global. It touches some countries, but dialect can change with other nationalities that share that same language. So I had to ask myself, do I want to continue with this and limit myself to the population speaking this language, or do I want a greater reach for my personal goal, which is to teach and really enlighten the world? That's that drive there, and that was the passion I know that I could really put into this, and I will be consistent. And I said, okay, do I do that, or do I don't know why I keep losing my train of thought. So basically, I had to ask myself that question. So I had to really pick what I could sustain. The frustration now is, with each passing time, given that there are moments of lapses where you are frustrated, or maybe when you're overwhelmed, or sometimes, one thing that we don't really discuss as content creators, and it's crazy that I say that, I don't really feel much as one, but at least that's the title given to this role. But one of the things people don't really discuss the most is the emotional aspect, the psychological aspect, because sometimes you can be so heavy, things can just occur, or maybe you're dealing with an emotion or something just happened that just spoils your mood. But a serious person who is really invested in that will not allow that that emotion to set him back so much, or her so much, that you take so long. Now, in saying that, I have done that in the past, but briefly, I was intentional about not staying in that mindset. Then over time, I built the strength to be able to, maybe, as if it's bad at all, then we can say one day I might just say today I'm not doing anything, I'm just gonna but that could also hurt you because that's a whole day that could have been spent doing one content of 3 minutes, which is the maximum I set for reels, and that could go a long way in being discovered or getting one new subscriber. So in essence, basically that's another challenge which we experience, and I had to ask myself, I needed to be more serious with my content, because initially I was making voices or changing my voice, to be able to play out all the different characters when I was doing the animation. And in order to really put yourself in that mood, you have to be at the top of the best. You have to be in the best mood ever to be able to really put yourself in that zone, and to play characters that are more so appealing to children or youths or anyone in essence, because these days adults do watch animation. So I had to really rethink this. I need a content that is somehow immune to my mood, that I could speak about, and it could also be, I can even capitalize on that mood to really speak about things like I'm doing right now, because this is motivated by frustration, depression. But now, what have I done with that depression? Instead of just sitting out and just waiting it out, I'm transforming this into a content. But I would not be stupid enough to if I'm depressed on specific issues, now voice that issue over the internet. And this is the mistake many people make. So I will talk about the experience and the feel, but not necessarily sensitive topics that relate to myself. I think we have to be wiser about that. Not because we're looking to create engagement or real life situations. Some things should stay in-house. Back in the day, we understood these things. Okay, so that's another lecture for another day, and I have to really try to stay on point. So that's one of the frustrations. And I would say the final frustration for this that I can call to mind, and also to keep this under 40 minutes, is the frustration of the time limits, which I just got to realize. I took it for granted initially. I felt okay, that really explained why it was stagnant for some time, because the time of inactivity balanced out, because I was trying to catch up to the 4,000 hours within the specified duration. And now, looking back at that page, I'm saying that now I have to even work extra. But I have enough content to meet that up, because I have been consistent for the past 2 months now, and it just takes being discovered. And that is what I pray for. But I understand life, and I understand journey. I also don't believe in getting things free, easily. True appreciation comes from true work, a true pride, and humble pride, if I can say that. Not pride and arrogance, but pride in the sense of self-achievement, and really feeling validated by what you've achieved so far, comes from work and true investment. But I also know that foolish things get more traction, but I will not sacrifice my dignity and my integrity and relegate myself to stupidity. So just keeping it plain and simple. And that's from a serious, well-grounded, they're jokes, they're talented comedians, don't get me wrong, but there is also stupidity and foolishness, whereby people do go to any level of extremity to get discovered, and they're discovered for the wrong reasons, because it is amazing. For me, I see those things and I spend hours on them, just being amazed at the level of people that are willing to go, and just for the wise, which I'm striving to be. The wise is marveled by these things, and that can constitute views we indirectly support, even though we don't intend to, because we are marveled at how people are willing to cast down their standing and reputation, not envisioning the prospects of the future for notoriety or for this discoverability. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I'm not gonna do that, and I had to ask myself, what kind of content do I want? What kind of crowd do I want to pull? What kind of validation do I want to get? Even though I'm not looking to be seen, okay? But what kind of effect do I want to make, most importantly? And how can I impact the lives? We cannot be going downhill, and I now add myself onto that propeller to further propel people downhill, down demorality, the hill of demorality, foolishness, immorality, and stupidity. So I couldn't do that. So I had to pick something that I know that I could pour out my heart, even in depression, or I could really talk about, because I'm invested in these things, and one of those things is wisdom, and that's why I love wisdom scriptures. I know for some reason when you speak about the Bible, people just flee. It's crazy to me that you can talk about anything else in the world, but I will not be ashamed of that. It is what has made me wise, and has what have kept me all through this year. So this is my story of my frustration of being a content creator. Maybe I might turn this into episodes, I don't know. So yeah, this is my long form content, and I'm going to review it and see if I'm okay with it before I put it out. Yeah, you really have to really be convinced that it's okay, that I haven't spoken too much that doesn't need to be said on this. Okay. All right. So thank you very much, and have a nice day. I hope this is good. Adios.